And Republicans on the House Budget Committee finally advanced Trump's so-called big, beautiful budget bill after a weekend of negotiations. In a late-night vote, 4 conservatives on the committee who had originally opposed the bill voted present last night, allowing it to move ahead. For more on this, let's bring in CBS News congressional reporter Taurean Small. Taurean, thanks for joining us. Now, conservatives first blocked this bill last week, so what changed?
Well, Michael, we could just look at what Chip Roy of Texas, the hardline Republican from that House Freedom Caucus, said about deliberation. So he said that he voted present, as well as 3 other Republicans who previously voted no, in order to keep the conversation going. We know that over the weekend, he and quite a few members of the House Freedom Caucus met with leadership to discuss some of the problems that they had. The biggest one was the fact that spending cuts didn't go deep enough in the current reconciliation bill that was moving through. What's interesting about this, though, as we saw during this vote, the top Democrat on the House Budget Committee pressed the chairman about what those deliberations entailed and what concessions were made. The chair responded by saying that he would not disclose it, but that the Republican Party will be transparent moving forward about what is and isn't in this bill. Chip Roy, in a statement on Twitter, said that the bill, as it stands, does not meet the moment, leaving almost half of the Green New Scam subsidies continuing. But he said he has confidence that the Republican conference moving forward can make those concessions needed when it comes to a full House vote fairly soon.
And how fairly soon are we talking about, Taurean? And does this have a chance to pass this time?
Well, the Speaker is looking to get this out of his chamber before the Memorial Day weekend. So that means it would have to hit the floor by this week. The question, though, is how much more negotiating he'll have to do with these members who still are a bit wary about the bill as it stands. What changes will it be made? If that does pass, it's also looking at a hurdle in the Senate, as there are quite a few Republicans there that are also as skeptical as some of these hardliners in the House. So it has to go to the Senate, then it would have to go through a conference if there are any significant changes made there, Michael.
And Taurean, are Medicaid cuts a part of this discussion that's going on?
Yeah, and included in those cuts would also be new work requirements. As it stands in the language of this bill, those work requirements wouldn't kick in until 2029. Chip Roy, other House Freedom Caucus members are saying that they need assurances that that work requirement timeline is pushed forward, so happens much sooner than 4 years from now. Again, we'll have to wait and see what changes to the bill happens before it hits the House floor, but that is what some Republicans are looking for, as other Republicans have reservations about any cuts made to Medicaid and other safety net programs, Michael.
All right, Taurean Small in Washington.